No one in the restaurant realized that a single phone call was about to change someone's life. It was the middle of the dinner rush, plates moving quickly, voices blending together, and the steady clatter of dishes filling the air. Most customers were focused on their meals, their conversations, or their phones. But in the middle of that ordinary evening, one small moment began to unfold. Unnoticed by almost everyone, the phone behind the counter rang, sharp and clear. A young waitress named Maya picked it up while balancing a notepad in her other hand. She spoke politely at first in English, listening carefully. Then, without hesitation, she switched languages. Her voice became smooth and fluent as she spoke Chinese, her tone calm and confident, as if she had spoken it her entire life. The words flowed naturally, precise and clear. What do you preference? A few customers glanced over in surprise, whispering quietly to each other, but most returned to their meals. One man did not. At a table near the window sat a quiet, well-dressed businessman named Victor Liang. He had been reviewing documents on his tablet, but the moment he heard the language, his attention shifted. He understood every word she was saying. She wasn't just speaking casually. She was discussing shipping details, delivery schedules, and product specifications pines with someone on the other end of the line. Her vocabulary was professional, her pronunciation accurate, and her confidence unmistakable. Victor leaned back in his chair, watching her with growing curiosity. He had spent decades working in international trade, and he knew how rare it was to hear someone speak like that without formal training or real experience. When the call ended, Maya simply placed the receiver down and returned to serving tables as if nothing unusual had happened. She carried trays, refilled glasses, and moved quickly from table to table, her expression polite but tired. The long hours showed in her eyes, but she never slowed down. Later that evening, Victor asked for her section when he ordered dessert. When she approached, he spoke to her in Chinese, just a simple greeting. For a brief second, surprise crossed her face, then she smiled and responded naturally, switching languages without hesitation. They spoke for only a minute, but Victor learned enough to understand her story. She had studied business and languages in college, hoping to work in international trade one day. But family responsibilities and financial struggles had forced her to take whatever job she could find. The restaurant paid the bills barely, and she worked double shifts whenever possible. There was no bitterness in her voice when she explained this, only quiet determination. She spoke about her goals as if they still mattered, even if they felt far away. Victor thanked her thoughtfully as she walked away. Couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for more than carrying plates and refilling coffee cups. But not everyone saw her the way he did. The next morning, Maya was called into the manager's office before her shift began. The conversation was short, and the tone was cold. The manager told her there had been complaints that she was distracted during work, that customers expected faster service, that the restaurant needed people fully focused on their duties. Maya tried to explain that she had answered the phone because no one else was available, that she had handled the conversation quickly and returned to work immediately. But the decision had already been made. She was told her services were no longer needed. For a moment, she just sat there trying to process the words. Losing the job meant more than losing a paycheck. It meant uncertainty, overdue bills, and another long search in a city where opportunities felt scarce. She packed her few belongings from the staff locker quietly, avoiding eye contact with the other employees. Some looked sympathetic but said nothing. Others simply continued working, as if nothing had happened. Outside, the air felt heavy, the sky gray with clouds threatening rain. Maya stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, holding her bag tightly, trying to steady her breathing. She told herself she would find something else, that she had overcome challenges before, that she would not give up now. But as she began to walk away, she couldn't shake the quiet feeling that something important had slipped through her fingers, something she might never get back. What she didn't know was that someone else had already noticed her talent, and he was about to make a decision that would change both of their lives in ways neither of them expected. Sometimes the moments that feel like endings are only the beginning of something far greater. Maya didn't know it as she sat quietly in a public library that afternoon, flipping through pages of job listings. But the path ahead of her was already beginning to change. She had come to the library because it was quiet and warm, a place where she could think clearly. Her notebook lay open in front of her, filled with notes, vocabulary lists, and business ideas she had once hoped to use in a career that now felt distant. Still, she kept studying. It was the one thing she refused to give up, no matter how difficult life became. Across the city, Victor couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen the night before. The more he reflected on it, the more it bothered him. In his world, companies spent enormous resources searching for talented people, yet someone with real skill and determination had been dismissed without a second thought. By late afternoon, he had made up his mind. It wasn't difficult to find her. A brief conversation with a former coworker pointed him toward the library she often visited. When Victor approached her table, Maya looked up, surprised to see a familiar face from the restaurant. At first, she seemed cautious, unsure why a customer would be looking for her. But Victor spoke calmly, explaining that he had been impressed by her ability, not just her language skills, but her professionalism and composure under pressure. Maya listened quietly, unsure where the conversation was leading. Then Victor told her about his company. They worked with international suppliers, coordinating shipments, negotiating contracts, and managing communication across several countries. He explained that he needed people who were observant, reliable, and willing to learn quickly. Technical skills could be taught, he said, but attitude and determination could not. Finally, he asked a simple question. Would you be willing to try something different? Nalka, for a moment, Anish has drawn a seat to try something different. For a moment, Maya didn't answer. The idea felt unreal, almost impossible. Just days earlier, she had been carrying trays and worrying about rent. Now someone was offering her a chance to step into a completely different world. She thought about the long nights studying after work, the sacrifices, the dreams she had refused to abandon even when they felt out of reach. Slowly she nodded. Chum for nasi chow. Slowly she nodded. The first weeks were not easy. The work was challenging, the environment unfamiliar, and there were moments when Maya doubted herself. But every time uncertainty crept in, she remembered why she had started. She stayed late to review documents, asked questions whenever she didn't understand something, and practiced tirelessly. Victor noticed her progress. What impressed him most was not how quickly she learned, but how seriously she took every responsibility. She treated every task, no matter how small, as if it mattered. Months passed, and one afternoon, Maya found herself leading a call with overseas partners, speaking confidently, guiding the discussion, solving problems in real time. When the meeting ended, the room was quiet for a moment before one of her colleagues smiled and said, "Handled that perfectly." Maya allowed herself a small smile, but inside, she felt something deeper, a quiet sense of pride. The sheeting tablekonst. So agree you want. Schifferin, not just in what she had achieved, but in the journey that had brought her there. Later that evening, as she walked home, she passed a small cafe and paused for a moment. Watching people inside laughing and talking. For the first time, she realized that losing her job at the restaurant had not been the end of her story. It had been the turning point. And somewhere in the distance, the city lights flickered on one by one, as if marking the beginning of a future she had once only dared to imagine. A future built not on love, but on perseverance, courage, and the simple decision to never stop believing in herself.